Barrett Jones, two-time All-American at the University of Alabama. Barrett Jones, welcome back to T-Tail, man. I hope all is well.
What's up, man? How we doing?
Got a big game. We're all nervous, man. We need you to calm us down a little bit.
What are you nervous about, Ryan?
I don't know. Just a lot at stake.
There's always a lot at stake in this game, though, Ryan, and I can't wait to watch it, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. Finally, we only have a few more days left. We've been talking about it for at least a month now, and I think it's going to be a great game. I just can't wait to see how Tua's ankle looks. I mean, I know that's been talked about a lot, but I do think it's going to be a major key to the game is just how he's feeling, and if he's feeling any discomfort, because we've seen in the past, sometimes when he's feeling a little bit of discomfort, he doesn't throw it quite the same. So I can't wait to watch it and see how it all plays out.
Yeah, you've had a chance to watch LSU. What's the strengths of their football team? We know about Joe Burrow, man, but you go deeper into the game. Well, you've had a chance to cover this team and be there and watch this team. What is the strengths of this team?
I think LSU's defense is a little better than people give them credit for. Specifically, I think that they have a defensive back in Derek Stingley, number 24. Keep an eye on him. He's a true freshman. Normally when you see the Alabama offense going up against a true freshman, you're licking your chops. But this is not one of those cases because he's a beast. And he was the number one recruit in the nation last year, and you can see why when you watch him play. He is an absolute stud. I have a ton of respect for him, just the way he plays the game. I think he's really, really good. So don't be shocked if he shows up and makes some plays. I think, I was thinking how they were going to use them, and I've been trying to kind of consider this game. And I think in a lot of games maybe they'd use them, to shadow a guy or something. But there's just so many players. I don't know who you shadow. I mean, do you shadow Jerry Jeudy and then you leave Henry Ruggs? I don't know. So I think I kind of think Hunter's playing his own position, but he's a really, really good football player. I think probably the area they're weakest on defense is their pass rush, which I think plays in Alabama's favor. They have one pretty good pass rusher, K'Lavon Chaisson, number 18. He's a good player, but, man, the way that our tackles have been pass protection this year, I'm not too worried about that. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, their running back, he really has had a nice year and has been very solid. So, the receiving core to me is not quite as good as Alabama's, but pretty close. They're really good. They have some really good players over there. So, and they're a loaded football team. I think I've said it before, and I've had some Alabama fans roll their eyes at me, but in a lot of ways, I think they're the most complete team in the nation. I think they're a little more complete on defense than Alabama is. But I do think when Tua and those receivers are healthy, I've said this on your show several times, I think that's the best unit in college football, that passing game, and one of the best units, in my opinion, that I've ever seen in college football. And I think in the history of college football, it's that good when everyone's healthy and clicking. And so when you have a unit like that, led by a guy who can sling it around and some really talented receivers and some pretty good pass blocking offensive linemen, I think you got a chance to win every game. And so I think if they're healthy, they'll win the game. But we'll just have to see what happens because health is not a guarantee at this point.
All right, so if I told you that Tua is going to play 4 quarters, do you favor Alabama a lot?
I mean, not by a lot. I think it'll be close. But at home, if you told me that Tua is going to play 4 quarters and be healthy and feel good and not have any setbacks, my other fear is just that he plays 4 quarters, but doesn't quite look the same. We've seen that before, hadn't we? Where he just and look, I mean, we're talking about a guy who's, in my opinion, one of the getting up there to be one of the great all-time college quarterbacks. But I think that if he does not, sometimes if he doesn't feel 100%, he's not quite his normal self. Now, look, to 70 or 80% is better than almost anyone in the country. I get it. I'm just saying that I think it's going to take his best to be able to beat LSU. That's just my opinion.
How do you block this out as a player on campus? I mean, the build-up, and I think you've said this before. Sometimes you like going on the road. I mean, maybe this is an advantage LSU when you talk about, not that Bryant-Denny Stadium's not going to be hostile, but look at the distractions. I mean, we're on Tuesday, and this town's like on cloud 9 already. I mean, the energy, you can feel it everywhere you go. This environment's already building. And, I remember 2011, and it may surpass that. I'm not talking about the game. No, it's not about the game. It's the greatest college football game I've ever been to. I mean, it was, even though we're on the other side of it, this energy build up I've never seen anything like this. I've been here a long time.
Well, it's gonna be wild. There's no doubt, and I think probably there in some ways it did affect us a little bit last time, and it's hard to put my finger on exactly how, but there was just so much energy and passion and emotion in 2011 when it happened. I'm sure Coach Saban has learned from that, and they've all learned from it, and he'll be telling the guys that. But it's hard. It's hard to actually do that and to not get affected by it all. And I think you're right. I think there is some advantage to actually the preparation lead up. I think in the end game, the advantage is the home team, but preparation-wise, it's kind of nice to be the road team because you're just isolated and you don't have to worry about anything else. So, look, when the ball snapped, though, it all really comes down to who executes better. You can definitely. I mean, the Trump thing is crazy to me. I can't believe that he actually is going to come to a regular season game. If he's a guest picker on game day, that will be
you don't have
that will
the scoop?
be epic.
I mean, come on, you're part of the network, man. Have they not sent out a bulletin or anything? I mean, something.
No, they didn't. They did not send it out. I just it would be, as he says, it would be huge if that was the case. And that would, anyway, I'm going to refrain from all the jokes, but it would be interesting to see that happen. So, look, it's going to be, I was at the national championship when he was there, and it was a zoo, and took us like an hour to get in the rain, freezing rain. So, I hope that it's not like that at Alabama because it was crazy. So, it's going to be, it's going to be great, and I'm jealous that I can't go. I was really hoping we'd have it. We have Oklahoma, Iowa State. And I'll have to be in the press box clamoring to try to see as much as possible before kick. So, anyway, it's going to be a great night, Ryan, and I'm jealous you're there. So enjoy it.
Hey, it is going to be a lot of fun. When you talk about a bye week, why does Nick Saban have the advantage when we talk about bye weeks? When you give this guy 2 weeks to prepare, or possibly even more. I mean, he's probably been working on LSU for quite a while, but I say that. I mean, I say it with ease, and probably I'm not right, but. What makes this guy so good when you give him the extra time?
Well, I think he does a great job in the bye week of actually not over-focusing on a team, of just kind of going back to the basics and being able to let the guys do some fundamental blocking and tackling that you can't do. Not actually tackling, but just it was just the fundamentals of going back to the game and getting some reps for everyone. And usually that's what helps, just kind of getting those camp practices in where you're not quite as rushed and you're not trying to cram in game plan. You can just kind of go back, and normally guys come out of that feeling pretty fresh and feeling good and just sort of refocusing on what they're supposed to be doing. So most of it really in reality is about us, the bye week, and there's a major focus on making sure that guys are recentering on their assignments and being able to learn some basics. And for whatever reason, that's just really worked a lot of times and helped them. Now, sure, preparation-wise, obviously they're watching a lot of tape on LSU, but normally the way they do it, especially this late in the year, is they divide it up, and they have one day where they watch an extra day of LSU, one day where they watch an extra day of Auburn, and so on and so forth. So they kind of divide it up for the second half of the season to get an extra day on everyone.
We're talking to Barrett Jones, 2-time All-American at the University of Alabama. When you talk about it, and I may have already asked you this question, but you think about Nick Saban's approach to this, because if you're LSU, you haven't beaten Alabama in a long time. 8 consecutive times you've lost to Alabama. When you listen back and you listen to the players, LSU, as they like to do, they're talking a little bit. Alabama, it's just, I mean, it's like you don't see this. Maybe you do from the media side, but sometimes it's like talking to robots. I mean, it's just the standard. It's another game. It's another game. It's another game. Sometimes I think it helps us. Sometimes I think that hurts us. I'm trying to get a feel on this by listening to these players and, being there where it's just another game.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly that's the approach, and it's consistent, right? I mean, do you really want to say,
yeah, I know.
We're going to do something different. So, I mean, it's I don't know what you mean. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it hurts. I mean, I just think it's the way the Alabama program is. That's the true approach. It's not just, honestly, it's not noise. I mean, nothing different happens during the week as far as preparation, and you have to have the mentality. And look, when you're playing as many big games as these guys have played, and I know this one's bigger than most, but you got to get used to it. You really do, and you expect to play at Alabama.
All right, if you're inside that room tonight as they're making their college football playoff rankings, if Barrett Jones was being asked, one of these days you may be asked to be a part of this committee when you look at the college football selection committee. If you were in that room and they said, Barrett Jones, who's the 4 best teams in the country? How would you rank them?
Well, right now I'd put LSU number 1, and not because I necessarily think that they're going to beat Alabama, just because I think they have the best body of work. And I think as much as they say that's not considered, it is. I did the mock committee, I did the mock committee a few weeks ago in Dallas, where I went there and the exact room they're in Grapevine, and you go through the process and you look at who they played and their schedule and who they've beaten. And right now LSU's beaten. I know they're not all currently top 10 teams, but Florida, they've beaten Auburn and they've beaten Texas. And so I think that gives them the early number 1 spot. Now again, it doesn't matter obviously, because it doesn't Alabama and LSU are about to play. But I would probably put LSU number 1. Plus Ryan, I'm trying to do you a favor and get LSU to number 1. So that the Alabama can be considered a quote unquote underdog, right? I know you like that, right?
Hey, listen, Nick Saban likes it too. The whole entire team was talking about it.
I know.
They're the best team in the country. They're number 1.
That's what I'm saying. So I mean, but honestly, I would just do it because I think I think you should put teams certain places because they've earned it, and right now LSU's earned that. Now again, they're about to play Alabama, so none of this matters. I would put Alabama 2. I'd put Ohio State number 3, and I'd put Clemson number 4. That's how I would rank them right now.
Man, what a game this is going to be. Barrett Jones, 2-time All-American at the University of Alabama. Barrett, let me throw it back to you, man. I mean, I think we've hit this thing as hard as we can possibly hit it. I mean, it's Alabama-LSU. I mean, I hope it lives up to the hype, and I hope next Tuesday we're talking about Heisman Trophy, national title. I mean, because Georgia's going to be easy, right? Auburn's going to be easy, so we'll just march right on into New Orleans.
Well, Ryan, I think that this is just on a quick Heisman Trophy note. To me, this is what everyone's looking for from Tua. Everyone knows how good he is, but how does he play in the big games? How does he show up when things are toughest? So we'll find out. We'll find out how he plays, and he's not 100% healthy, but I think if he comes out and plays really well in this game, I think he's the Heisman favorite. That's my opinion. But anyway, I'll give my verse of the day. It's a very common verse, probably one of the most quoted verses out there. It's Jeremiah 29:11. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." I think for a lot of years and a lot of times, this verse oftentimes is misused and misquoted sometimes. And people read this verse and they think, man, only good stuff's going to happen to me once I know the Lord. Frankly, this verse has been used in some, what I would call heresies, maybe of false teachings, where people have used this verse to say the Bible is saying one thing. But I think this verse is just an awesome verse and an awesome promise that the Lord is telling us that He's going to prosper us. That word in there that's tricky, I think, is misused sometimes, is prosper. And you really think about, what does God mean when He says He's really going to prosper you? Does He mean He's going to give you a bunch of stuff, or really give you a bunch of money, or make you fat and rich and happy? I think really God probably has a different idea for what really true prospering is versus kind of what we think of it. And ultimately, when He talks about giving you a hope and a future, I think of this verse as God's promising that He has a plan for our life, that ultimately, if we follow Him and we honor Him, that we're going to go to heaven. And I think that's the greatest promise of all. It's been a tough week for this week. I have a great aunt who has been really struggling with cancer, and it looks like she's probably about to pass away sometime in the next few days. And I was just kind of reflecting on this verse of, she's a great lady and loves the Lord. And you know what? Bad things happen in her life. She got cancer, and really bad cancer and painful, and she's going to die. But that doesn't mean that God's not good, because God has a great plan for her, and He's going to give her a hope in the future. And soon she'll be waking up in heaven, and she'll understand the full weight of this verse like none of us can. So I think this is a great verse. It's very encouraging, and it's about our true prospering that really, I think ultimately, that the full expression of doesn't come on this earth, but comes once we get to heaven.
Jeremiah 29:11. Barrett Jones, what a great message, and I'm sure that that will help a lot of different people. A lot of people that you always look for answers. You always want to say why, and listening to you talk there, that's what kind of went across my head. Barrett Jones, I appreciate you, man. I hope you have an awesome week, and we'll talk to you very, very soon. Hopefully we're breaking down an Alabama victory over LSU next week. Thank you, Barrett.
All right, Ryan. Thanks a lot, man. Look forward to talking next week.